we just got back from watching Logan, and I could honestly say, hands down, across the board, best Wolverine iteration we've ever gotten.
This was the Wolverine I've been waiting for, being a longtime fan, and as a child, that was my go-to X-Men character, and this is exactly what I wanted.
This is just an overall good movie. Like, I'd even take, like, the fact that he was Wolverine at all. I took the fact that he was Logan, not the Wolverine, just Logan himself, and that's what I loved about it, was that he was a mutant, but he was a human being at first, and like it was just that really got to me, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, and I think that was his point, is to kind of make it. That's why it's called Logan, because he didn't want it to be Wolverine or an X-Men movie, essentially,
which he did a good job for it.
Yeah, and it's really, really story driven, and it really gives you a really good look at him as a person, just like Vanessa said.
And then overall, I mean, the fact that this was the first one that they've made rated R, I mean, coming off of the success of what Deadpool did, which, by the way, gotta watch this movie if you're a Deadpool fan. But
totally.
All in all, just in the sense that the same level of violence is there, that grittiness that we've wanted as children growing up into adults from comic books. The fact that we've gotten to a level where they're making movies now for us that have grown up into the cinematic universe, there's got to be something for us, and I get it. Disney and DC and all
they have their own iteration. Yes, like they make these movies for the kids and stuff, but we also have to have ones that are for adults.
Correct.
We need the ones that bring out the grittiness and the just
the adult nature.
Well, yeah, there we go.
These are mutants with superpowers. So they're gonna hurt people. This guy's got metal claws. It's not gonna be just a scratch when he slices someone with them.
Yeah.
So
the emotion that I had towards this movie was like no other. Like, I've never had it before in another movie like this. Essentially, like all the other superhero movies, yeah, people died, but I didn't care. Like
as much as
this one. This one really, like, it was just so heart-wrenching the whole time.
It's a heart-wrenching movie, just seeing some of your beloved characters that you've kind of grown up with, not only in the comic books, but on the movie side of things. I'm so happy that watching this movie, they don't really throw it all out with the garbage. I know there was some things like Hugh Jackman came out and said, like, well, this is kind of its own thing. Mm-hmm. But no, they do kind of hang on to the universe that has been created.
Oh, yeah.
It's just more of a deviation from where we were not too long ago with the Wolverine movies, with the X-Men movies, and then just seeing your characters go through the torment that they end up reaching. And you see it in the trailer.
They're in pain, they're hurting, they're vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, although, like, the whole time, too, like, with the action scenes, like, I was grinning from, like, ear to ear the whole time. I was like, this is awesome and gory. It wasn't really gory, but the rated R served its purpose in this movie.
Gory, but not gore porn.
I shouted a couple times.
Yeah.
Because I was just excited.
Yeah, like, at the end, I was just like, this is the best thing ever. Like, it was...
I was into it. I was into it in the very beginning, opening scene. It's really good.
Well, it feels like real. It feels like real life. There's just this human characteristic to the entire movie that makes you feel like, oh my gosh, if mutants were around, this is what it would be like in the daily life of a mutant. I mean, obviously we know certain things don't happen, but there's certain aspects of the storyline where it's like, oh my gosh, this could really actually happen. So.
And Professor X, and the fact that they kind of talk about that balance between the comic books and reality, like Professor X does touch on those topics as well a couple times with reality and the comic book world, and you see it in the trailer talking about the comic books and how Wolverine says, well, only a fraction of that happened, but
not
the rest,
like that.
but not like that. So just seeing this fantasy, as Wolverine calls it, versus what is happening in reality, they do a great job at nailing if this was really going to happen, kind of like what Dark Knight did with the Batman series. I mean, it just brought it down to a very organic human level And there's even a specific part within the movie when you get about 3/4 of the way through where it becomes one of the most human level movies, I think. And it's almost like it reboots from that moment on into the rest of the movie. And it's definitely tough to get through just as fans of these characters, but really happy that we did get to experience that with Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and everybody else that's in the movie, because they all did great. Stephen Merchant.
Yeah, I love Caliban. Caliban was a great character. And
I did not, the trailers gave us no indication, and synopsises of what was going to happen was not the perception of where some of these characters would go. Others we kind of saw
or what their roles would be in the film.
Correct.
We had no idea.
Correct.
Actually, the trailers did a good job of not really revealing a lot about the movie at all.
Perfect job.
Yeah.
And there are certain undertones as well. You still have that Johnny Cash undertone that came from the trailers, but there are other trailers or other
which is kind of funny because
tones. Yeah.
James Mangold did direct Walk the Line, so
right, and you feel it as well. There's that grittiness to it, that western.
Well, yeah, and there's some scenes too with the music and what's going on in the film where it feels like a horror film too.
Yeah,
for sure.
And it does feel like an old school western as well, even though you've got modern day. I mean, you've got, it's what, 2029?
2029.
So it still felt like an old western, and they do a good job at setting that up within the movie. And saying what movie is kind of in the movie is in itself a spoiler of some sorts if you know that western.
Right.
But all in all, the hero comes into town and he's got to wipe away the guns, and it's a rough ride, but a hell of a fun ride to go through as well. Like you said, grinning from ear to ear, those action scenes.
The whole time. It was great. But yeah, I mean, for my rating for this movie, I would give it a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it very, very much. So much to the fact where I will probably go see it again.
A movie that I would give 5 out of 5 is one that I immediately feel like I have to watch after it is over. Like it ends and I got to be in there to watch it again.
One of them.
But for me, I would have to give it like a 4.75. Like I thought it was really well done, well shot, orchestrated perfectly, a great send-off for our actors who have been there the whole time and have said that they're not going to join in the rest of the pictures. But that leaves room for other actors to come in and try their hand. But for me, 4.75. What about you guys?
I'd probably give it like a 4.8. Mainly for set design and then characterization and story development. Because although it wasn't like super... I mean, there's a lot of action scenes, but I learned so much about relationships between some of the characters, like specifically Charles Xavier and Logan. Charles Xavier was like a huge balance in some ways to Logan's character and Wolverine's character, and I really found a bigger appreciation for the X-Men universe just because of that.
And they did do it so subtly too.
I just loved it.
They didn't give us all the information, and they gave us bits at a time, but man, they do a good job at giving us that backstory without giving us a lot of backstory. So
Schlink, I give it a 5 out of 5 because, like I said, I love Wolverine. Wolverine was my hero when I was a kid, and this is exactly what I wanted to see in a Wolverine film. So for me, emotionally, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. That could, come down slightly after seeing it some more, but I still think 5 out of 5 initially. It's very well done. The use of profanity, the use of violence and action fits the movie. It's not there just because it's there. It wasn't reactionary to Deadpool. Even the humor in the movie, there's humor in the movie as well, which balances out some of the action as well, which is nice. And slow moments that balance it out.
And a lot of those moments too were definitely set with the music that was in the movie, and that's funny because I had no clue who was scoring it, but as the movie was playing off in the beginning, you see all the little credits. And that's when I learned certain characters or actors are in it as well. But Marco Beltrami was the composer on this movie, and he did music for Scream. Mm-hmm. And I loved what he did with Scream. And there's a lot of horror elements, like you said, in this movie. And the music played it off in so many scenes very well.
Well, it's interesting, too, because the movie kind of fits in a lot of different genres. And if you look at the soundtrack, like a lot of movie soundtracks, they all kind of it flows and it all feels like it belongs together. The soundtrack for this, it does belong together, but it kind of fits with whatever's happening in the film. So it doesn't necessarily like you're like, where's this coming from?
Well, it's subtle.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's subtle. It's not overpowering the soundtrack.
Correct.
It adds to the emotion and the feeling of what's going on in every scene. So.
And it's not really something you can listen to on its own either. It fits very well in the scene,
Right.
in the moment, and it kind of is a perfect supplement to what is taking place on screen versus like Hans Zimmer music or, John Murphy, all these other soundtracks that are well on their own, standing alone. This one, like Scream, fits very well in the moment of what's happening. It's very atmospheric when what's playing out on screen, is hitting with those tones. So really excited that we had this to.
And Daphne Keane kills it as X-23. Literally.
Right. Oh man, absolutely.
So good. I want her and 11 to go at it.
Eventually,
An interesting fight.
if they get to that level, we already know 11's going to be in features, and she's already,
She's got to take down Godzilla first.
And that's going to be to start us off on this month of killer movies every week. I can't wait to see what we have for the rest. But either then, until next time, you can like us, subscribe.
Do the thing on our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, or Instagram.
Thank you, Tim and Ashley, for joining us for this
Thanks
review.
for having us.
Yeah,
It's
It was
absolutely.
a lot of
It's fun.
fun.
And
Yeah.
check it out, absolutely, if you can.
Go see Logan now.
Yeah,
Before it's spoiled, for sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that could get spoiled in this
Yeah.
movie, and it's hard enough to talk about it without spoiling any of it. But you know what? We loved it so much, we could not do that for you guys. So, definitely, check it out. And until next time,
Now it's time to say goodbye.
Bye!
Bye.